Welcome to Algebra 2. This video is a review packet for the homework. It will be in parts. So for this part, we will do focus on Unit 1 sequences. One thing to know that these are the two things that you will have on your reference thing, a formula thing that they will give you. This one is explicit. They could also ask you in the sense they could say nth term. If they say any of those two words, they're wanting you to use this formula. So let's start with this. Write a recursive definition and an explicit definition for the sequences below. Now, we talked about two sequences, arithmetic and geometric. Now, the thing about arithmetic is that the sequence is progressive by either adding a number or subtracting a number. So looking at this, so in our sense, we don't say you're subtracting a number, we say you're adding a negative number or adding a positive number. So this sequence is increasing, so it's adding a positive number, and I can tell just by looking at it that it's plus 5. Now, I will say one thing is that this kind of questions, they will be multiple choice, often, especially on the EOCs, just because how hard it can be to just like write down the notation of it. So usually these questions will be, if they're on the EOCs, they will be about multiple choice. What does that look like? So, I mean, if you know how to write it without any multiple choice, it becomes like when the multiple choice comes up, it becomes easy. So let's write it without using multiple choice. So for example, this one, if you were, whenever you're writing a recursive definition, you always have to define the first term. So the first term here is 7. So you will say a sub 1 equals 7. Second, you have to define how each series is progressing after the first term. So you would say every new term is taking the previous term and adding 5. And then you have to define n. You could just say n is greater than 1 or n is greater than or equal to 2. Explicit, since it's arithmetic, you could just simply use this formula right here. Your first term is 7 plus n minus 1 times 5. Now, if it's multiple choice, they will not simply leave it here. They're expecting, oh my god, expecting you to simplify it. How would you simplify it? First, distribute the 5. You get 7 plus 5n minus 5. 7 minus 5 is 2, so it's 5n plus 2. That's the answer for n, greater than or equal to 1. Recursive, again, same thing, but now this is geometric because now you are multiplying by a number. If that happens, it's geometric, and the way the same process happens here, see, your first term here is 7. Your next term is taking the previous term and timesing 3. And then n is greater than 1 or n is greater than or equal to 2. We could have any one version of that. Explicit, it's this formula up there, a sub 1 times r to the power of n minus 1. A sub 1 is the 7, the rate is 3 to the power of n minus 1, and you're done. Alrighty. What makes sequence A different from sequence B? Where sequence A is arithmetic, sequence B is geometric. The thing about the fact that the first term is the same, 7, 7. The thing that's different is the fact that it's being added and multiplied. Sequence A is being added, sequence B is being multiplied. That's the key difference. Alright, question 2. Sequence A is defined by 5. The first term is 5. I could just write that down, 5. The next term is timesing 4. So 5 times 4 is 20. Then it's 80. Then it's 320, and so on. Write a statement that defines the nth term. I'll tell you this, see, a lot of people are confused by what this is saying. This is just another way of writing explicit. And we know the formula, it's a sub 1 times r to the power of n minus 1. Your first term is 5, the ratio is 4 to the power of n minus 1, and you're done. That's the answer. Given a graph of the sequence, find the 11th term. Here, they not define the 0th term, they define the first term as 1. Second term is 1, 2, 3. Third term is 9th, and so on. So let's find the explicit formula first. In order to find the 11th term, you must figure out this version of it, the explicit version of it. So the first term is 1 times 3 to the power of n, right, minus 1. Right? And then we plug in 11. So 3 times to the power of 11 minus 1, 3 to the power of 10, whatever that is your answer. You can plug this into your calculator. All right, that's all for the video. Look at that, 5 minutes. Oh my god, you need one. You're done if you need one.